Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you see this message in podcast. It is I, your girl, Jacquell. We're working out with Wanda, where we focus on health, body, mind, and spirit. So let's jump right into it, okay? We've been talking about grieving and mental health and those that suffer in silence. I want to kind of talk to you since we've been talking about how we move forward, how do we deal with this, how do we deal with that. I want to kind of talk to you about like my recent experiences these past few months, these past few weeks. Um, so as I said in our last podcast, about for the last 6 months, I was in three different car accidents, right? So let's talk about triggers today. Um, this situation of me being hit in a car actually affected my youngest son. And so if anybody know about my youngest son, he's absolutely amazing. Definitely a God sent child. Definitely a God sent child. Definitely a God sent child. Okay, let's just leave it like that. But me getting into another car accident, it triggered something in him. And I'm okay to share with what happened when we went to our therapy appointment and things of that nature because I am a firm believer of normalizing Jesus in therapy, right? So he's a 5 year old. So, how do you have a 5 year old really articulate their words? How do you really have them try to verbalize their feelings, things of that nature? Unless sometimes you do, it's okay to see a therapist, it's okay to see a counselor, it's okay to see somebody that is unbiased and not so much if they have to medically diagnose or do anything, but to have that support and give you strategic tools on how to deal with something. Everybody and everything does not need medication or does not need a medical diagnosis in the sense of you have to take this because it could be damaging long in the long run. But I do believe that counseling, especially when it comes to grieving, when it comes to trauma, there should be some type of support that's needed to give, especially for our Black and Brown community. So November 19th, Jacquell was driving on my way to work, and I was hit by a semi. Um, and so this was the car that my husband bought me for Christmas. And at this time, I am just like it was like a fast and furious experience. Okay, if I ever thank God for Chuck E. Cheese, thinking I could really spin, woo, 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 that's what I did that day. Okay, where I was facing from the hit and the impact, I was facing the traffic. Okay, so we're going westbound. I'm going east, so I'm facing everybody, the whole traffic, and I was lined up against the beam or the medium. Um, but that whole experience was a lot for me. Not getting into cracks once, two, or three times, right? So when people driving and we get next to a semi, I'm jumping, and my son's like, "Mom, calm down. It's just me driving." I was like, "Let me just close my eyes," because I was so in They would say I was dealing in trauma. I was dealing with this situation to where like and it doesn't mean that the semi was necessarily going to come and hit, but it was just the fact that I was close again to a semi. So by being close to right next to it, let's just, let's call a thing a thing. Like I'm driving, I'm in my lane. You see this line, but all of a sudden somebody want to ease on down, and then these things happen. So I'm dealing with mine, and I go through I got to go through this healing. I got to go back to the chiropractor. Got to go back up here, go back. It's a lot. And then also you missing work, so now you got to miss this. You got to go through here. You got to go through there. It's a lot. I'm grateful for my life. First, one and only. Thank you, Lord, that you spare my life. But let's be real. At the same token, I'm like, what is going on here? Now, how did that affect a 5 year old? Right? And I'm always, it's like when I talk to my producer, I go through this mode to where we start off a conversation. It's like, oh, you hit something. I wanted to talk about something else, but then when he came with that, I was like, because he was like, "How's your son doing today?" And I was just like, "I'm vomiting again." That's what I like to call it. Like, ah. And so my son, his behavior started going back through like this roller coaster. And then he does a lot of remembrance of my husband, remembrance of the, oh, I remember daddy used to do, remember daddy. And I watch those kind of behaviors because for me as a parent, I'm now watching to see, are you going to kind of have a spiral and it goes down? Okay. And for a 5-year old, sometimes he'll grab my phone and ask if he can. There's videos that him and my husband did together. And sometimes he just want to sit there and watch the video. I'm observing because are you going to kind of, what's going to happen afterwards? Um, and so we went to a therapy session and they let me know that because, his behavior started changing at school. He started being, um, I don't like to use the word that he's throwing tantrums. And I don't like to use that for children, that they're throwing tantrums. Sometimes a child can misbehave. And then there's other times because due to life circumstances, there's a cry out for help. If you understand the difference in those two. So with that being said, my child was just really having moments where I miss my dad. I want my dad. There are certain songs that still trigger my child where if he hear "You Are My Sunshine," it makes him cry because my child sung "I Love You, Daddy," and then my husband was saying "You Are My Sunshine." And so to Peyton, when he hears that, it kind of does something to him. So imagine all of that happening, and then you find out mommy's now in a car accident. My child is asking almost every other day, "Mommy, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Mommy, are you okay? Mommy, do you need anything? Mommy, can I sleep in your bed tonight? Mommy, are you okay?" And it's to the point where these are signs that the child is dealing with something. And as a parent, if I take off my counselor hat, if I take off mental health, take off this, take off that, I am mom mode now. And what does mom do? We protect our children no matter what. We want the best for our children. And my thing is that if we start now with therapy, if we start now with finding having other areas that could be supportive measures, we can definitely take this opportunity to do the best for our children now while they're young. I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong when a child is 18, 19, 20 years old, but when we can actually allow them to notice their behaviors, recognize it, how do we normalize you to be more having more vocabulary? Because you're crying, I understand that you're crying, but can you tell me why you're crying? I understand that you're sad. Can you tell me why you're sad? Can you tell me why you're angry? And telling your child that this is a safe space, because I didn't even realize until the therapist was like, did something recently just happen? And he's just playing the, playing the games and toys. And then sometimes when they're reading a book, in therapy, sometimes coloring with your children is another form of therapy. Playing blocks with blocks and games and Legos and things of that nature, because it helps offset the mind of what is really in the back of the mind, or we say subconscious mind is moving. And so he said, mommy was in a car accident, and I'm so worried that something's going to happen to my mom. And immediately I'm like, that happened like so many weeks ago. I'm okay. But to a child who just lost one parent and nervous that my mom has been in, me and mommy was in an accident together, and then mommy had another car accident. That's exactly what to tell her. And then mommy had another car accident. I'm like, whoa, what's wrong with my mom? And I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with your mom? It's not so much that is there anything wrong, but it's just like hearing from a 5-year old who has to try to interpret and understand like there could be something wrong here. There has to be something wrong. What is going on? What is this and that? But they're only 5, 6, 7, 8. Some of our children experience things at the age of 2 and 3 that they should not even have to fathom with. There are some things that our children experience and they don't know how to verbalize their feelings. What does that actually look like? How can I actually say that I'm okay to a 5-year old, but they see, that you're not moving like you normally would. So they're like, okay, you say you're okay, but you're not okay. You say you're okay, but blah, blah, blah. And they're saying it in a retrospective, like something's not right. Something did not move right. Something didn't happen right, things of that nature. And I guarantee you that once at the end of the conversation, I took some takeaways. Some of my takeaways was ensuring that he knows that he's safe, I'm safe, ensuring that he understands that, what we can and can't do, what we have the power and control to do versus what we don't have power and control. One thing for sure, I ensured that my son knew is that mommy loves you. Dad loved you. God loves you. Every time my son, and I've done this for a while, over so when he was like 2 or 3, I would say, you can be angry, you can be mad, you can be upset, you can even be sad, but you must verbalize your feelings. Just doing this and doing that is not enough. I don't want our children to be targeted. And I'm a huge person on that. I do not want our children to be targeted. I do not want our children that people just assume that they're misbehaving and this is just a typical behavior versus addressing the fact that there could be something else really wrong. There's something else there we just can't connect it to. I think it's important that we utilize our social workers. Okay? If a social worker even work part-time, they need to be part of the time assisting our youth. It's needed. So many children are misdiagnosed and their parents almost feel like giving the medication is the best way out because there's nothing else that they can do. So many parents are overwhelmed based on the behaviors of their children. It's not saying that you're a bad mom. It's not saying that you're a bad dad. Some days it's just heavy. Okay? What they say, heavy, heavy. You guys are heavy, heavy. You know what I'm saying? But at the same token, parents become overwhelmed. The children can feel the tension in the home. There's a lot of things that's happening around. You are sitting in the center, and all of these things are going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And you're expected to have a sober mind. You're expected to still be this parent that's going to move forth, move and do everything to the best of the capability, your ability of everything that you can do. And then your child is sitting over here, don't know what to do. Your child is still trying to verbalize when their feelings are hurt. And that's another thing I just got to sidebar and say. We have to stop telling our children when they're saying, I'm mad, I'm sad. No, you're not. That's contradicting. If they're sad, why are you sad? You don't, no, you can't be sad over that. Then why do we tell them? So now we're teaching our children to lie. Ooh, definitely want to go this way, but I guess we're here now. We're teaching our children not to be honest with our feelings. And if we're teaching our children not to be honest with our feelings, we're teaching our children also to be manipulative and lie about other things that can cause more problems in the long run. Think about it. What goes in my house stays in my house. Don't you tell nobody what's going on. So then now they feel like it's not safe to even tell you. So they're carrying baggages of trauma, baggages of triggers. So when we're starting to say things and do things that trigger the event that happened, it makes them act out. Now, please understand, I do know the difference between misbehaving and when somebody's dealing with a trauma. We're talking about the kids that are suffering in silence. And what are the options that we have for them? What can we do when the person that they think they can trust is not available? The person is can't even tend to their needs and help them. Or the person is saying, that's not how you feel. Shut up, you're okay. Nothing wrong with you. Clearly they're bleeding. They got an owie. But something that simple to tell them there's nothing wrong with you messes with their mindset. Because now it's like, do I trust my parent, my guardian, this person, that person enough that when I am really in a situation, do they listen? Can they listen to me? Sometimes I sit on the floor with my child and we just sit there and just sit there. Sometimes sitting on the floor to get to his level, to where at the eye level, now he understands that mommy's not thinking she's over you. I'm right here with you. If we send Indian style, I'm Indian in the style, and then cross crisscross applesauce hands in your lap. Why? Because I want you to understand that I'm here for you. And my belief is that if we encourage therapy and counseling at these ages, there's so much things we can prevent and shut down before they get 10, before they get 18, before they get 25. It's so many counselings that don't even see youth, but we want to see them when they're grown. We want to help them out now that they're 30 years old, now talking to you about the stuff that happened when they were 3. But we was not available for them at that time. When are we going to normalize it? That it's okay for you to go see a counselor. It's okay for you to talk to someone. One thing I've learned as a parent, as dealing with mental health counseling, just very being well diverse, is that children, if they feel safe to talk to someone, they're going to talk to you. They're going to talk to you because they feel like this person here is safe. They see how you engage and act. They see how you embrace them with love. A child, believe it or not, knows when someone loves them, know when someone cares about them, know when someone is really trying to help them and not hurt or harm them. And they take that as an opportunity to say, I'm sad. Sometimes it's just random conversation. You didn't even ask the child for the conversation, but they give you this whole conversation. You didn't ask for it, but it's there. And then I just turn and just start asking questions, because I feel like since we here now, let's talk about it. Sometimes a child just want to say, "Hey, I got a book today." Really? What kind of book? Oh, blah 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 blah. A whole nother thing just opened up because somebody's listening to me. Ch- Children are silenced before they can really develop what they are supposed to do. Many children are told they can't be before they can be. Many children are shut down and forced to be in silence when there's so much going on. We'd be surprised how creative a child can be at a very young age. Are we willing to listen? Are we willing to help? Are we willing to be there for them? Trauma in children carries different than trauma in adults. Trauma in children, triggers in children's, comes off as, and let's be clear, your child can be one of the smartest, one of the top-notch children, but because in the school mind and the system mind, they feel that they're so misbehaved, they don't look at how far that they can do, what they can do, how they can overcome, how they can do this and that, because all they can see that, oh, he just throwing tantrums, oh, he just spoiled, or he just want to do this, she just acting like this, she just acting like that, she fat, she ain't done with her homework, and they actually are done with their homework. Do it again, then they do it again. Some children are just that advanced. It's so hard for the community to say that we love our youth, we love this, we love that, but at the same time, we don't give them the time. We don't enrich them with nuggets of wisdom and knowledge. We don't give to them and pour into them as they need it. I tell, and so I have a 23-year-old and I have a 5-year-old. And so my 23-year-old, like some days I can tell when he's dealing with stuff, right? So I communicate to him on the level of a 23-year-old, but I can't communicate that to the 5-year-old. I can't communicate that same way because my child sometimes be like, "What that mean? What that mean?" Instead of me breaking it down to his terms, I'll be going back and forth over what that means versus me actually getting out the information that he needs. So I understand that I'm right at this time. I'm talking to a 5-year-old. Sometimes 5 year olds they go through music. So as we're listening to music, we have conversations. Sometimes it's the coloring. And then sometimes you can really learn so much as the color because my child will color, draw, he makes books, he does this and that, and it's all his gateway to get out. He loves to draw. My child can read a book and make up another story from the pictures. And I'd be like, I have to go back and read the book. Y'all like, did that really happen? Because of his imagination. My son has an amazing imagination. He will sit there and change. We repeat the cat got such and such. Mama, because Pete the cat said that he was gonna go down the street. He didn't go down the street. He went over the river, and I'm like, what page is that on? Because of their mind, their imagination. And as parents, as a community, we have to realize that we keep saying that Whitney Houston song, I believe the children are our future. She's well, let them lead the way. How can we do it if we don't listen? There has to be a teacher, there has to be a student. There has to be a deliverer of the message, and then there has to be a receiver of the message. So at some point, we have to change in order to be in that right environment to nurture and guide our children. Triggers can be harsh. Trauma, as we're told, can be very detrimental to some. If your children are staying up all night to that hour, if they're not being compliant, if they're being, as you would say, disobedient, if they're just downright like something just doesn't make sense. Are you okay today? What's wrong? Come talk to me. And sometimes I have to do that when I'm like, I done told you 3 or 4 times to do something, you didn't do it. Okay, come, let's have a seat. Everything does not need a disciplinary action. Like I said that. Everything does not need a disciplinary action. Sometimes it just needs a conversation. Something I tell myself, I said, everything deserves a conversation. Before we judge, we seek to understand. This is also with our youth. We have to seek to understand their mind. When I worked in a group home, whether it was working with the girls or, working with the boys, it was just a lot. But when I would just sit there, I did a lot of stuff like first of all, I loved working with the group home. I knew, some of them did stuff for mental health, some were higher needs and things of that nature, but that didn't bother me. I always feel like everything deserves a conversation. And so some of the youth that knew if certain people was working, they didn't run away because they knew one or two things. Because I was third shift for a season, they was going to get a hot breakfast. I didn't care for cereal in the morning. You ain't finna get no cereal with me. They need to be out there. They're gonna get a hot breakfast because while you up there taking your shower, ain't nothing wrong with flipping a pancake. See, I like the pancake with the crisp edges. Yes, Lord. The crisp edges on it, okay? I like the pancakes that's doing this and that and the third. Like then you got the eggs, you got the bacon. And as we're doing that, we're having conversations before you walk out the door. The people in the group home is what? Dealing with trauma, dealing with various situations. Nobody listens to me. Nobody care about me. Nobody understands what I'm doing. Then when I went to a season working second shift, especially if it came on a Sunday, it was Sunday soul food. They didn't run away. Why? Because they knew. And then at this time, everybody's coming in the kitchen. Wash them hands. I want all the nails and stuff clean. Put your hair up in a ponytail because we finna cook together. What did I just do? I built a relationship and building relationship with the newer ones to do what? We're gonna eat. We're gonna have conversation. You never fried chicken before. Let me teach you how to fry chicken. Let's go to the chicken. Let's clean. So you're learning. And then now what we're having a conversation. And even as teenagers, what did they do? They spilled everything that was going on. Whether it was something going on in the group home, something going on in school, something going on in their personal life, why they're in the group home. Because why? I have now opened up this safe zone for them. Trauma and triggers are real. And if somebody that's 30, 40, 50 years old is dealing with it and they do not know how to manage their feelings, how can we expect a 3, 4, 5-year old to? We can silence them, or we can show them how to verbalize. If we silence them, we are damaging their future. We are damaging who they can actually become because we're always silencing their truth, their feelings. So the next time a child comes tell you, I'm sad, let's not be so quick to say, no, you're not. You're okay. You get up. You're fine. Let's ask probing questions as to why you feel this way. If they're misbehaving, why did you decide to throw the crayon against the wall versus picking up and put it in the box? Let's talk about that. Everything doesn't deserve a disciplinary action, but everything deserves a conversation. Listen, we got to do a part two. Until next time, you won't give up. You won't give in. You will not abort what has been predestined over your life. God is so awesome. And this is the time right now that he's focusing on our youth, our generation. Let's bring them up into the nurture and ammunition of God that they need to be. Let them talk. Let them run around and get the little jitters out. Let them tell you how they feel and not be reprimanded for it. Respectfully, though, youth, okay? Respectfully. So until next time, guys, you take care. See you later.